Hello and welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Here's a look at what's lined up for you on the show tonight. We tell you how Sinan Ogan is set to play Kingmaker. What is Sinan's story and what makes him the Kingmaker? What were the key takeaways and why is this a significant contest? What does it mean for Recep Tayyip Erdogan? All that and more coming up in just a few minutes. Let's first talk about what's happening in Turkey. The 5% game, that is what Turkey's election has come down to. The incumbent president, Recep Tayyip Erdogan's party, has won 49.51% vote. The opposition candidate, Kemal Kilicdaroglu, or Turkey's Gandhi as he is called, has won 44.88% votes. The right-wing ATA alliance has won a little over 5% vote. And to win, you need 50% votes. Clearly, no one has the majority. So what happens next is the immediate question. A runoff. In other words, round 2 in the contest. A competition between the top 2 candidates, Erdogan and Kilicdaroglu. And when will that happen? What's the date? The 28th of May. And this man, Sinan Ogan, has become the unexpected kingmaker. He decides which way the 5% deciding votes go. And this is the 5% votes that he received in the first round. 2.8 million people voted in his favor. With Ogan out, his supporters will have to choose between Erdogan or the Turkish Gandhi in round 2, or choose between not voting at all. In the first case scenario, Ogan gets to decide who gets to steer the course of this NATO member state.
At this time, we are not saying that we will support one party or the other.
Ogan was once associated with the Nationalist Movement Party, which, by the way, happens to be the ally of Erdogan's party. Ogan was expelled from the party in the year 2015. And why is that? The answer is internal rift. This man likes to call himself the candidate for Turkish nationalists. Now is his time to bargain and play his cards right.
If we decide to be with an alliance, a protocol will be signed with them, and we put in words that no concessions will be made regarding the People's Democratic Party. We have certain red lines, such as fighting against terrorism and sending refugees back. We have voiced those conditions before.
Now, does this mean Erdogan will back the opposition alliance? Those who have been following the developments on the ground say most likely the votes will go to Erdogan. And how much time are we talking about, and how much does he need them? Erdogan Erdogan has been at the helm of affairs for 20 years. He became Turkey's leader, the prime minister in 2003, and then became the president in 2018. And during his time as prime minister, Erdogan headlined growth and transformation. But as president, he presided over sinking currency, inflation, and more recently, Turkey was hit by monster quakes. The tremors appear to have dashed Erdogan's hopes of staying in power, but his party pledged to rebuild, and some say he delivered at breakneck speed. And the polls took a rather interesting turn. The preliminary results reported by the local media showing that 71% of the votes cast in the earthquake's epicenter, Kahramanmaraş, had gone to Erdogan.
Well, I'm not happy at all that the election is going to the second round. I wish our President Erdogan had won. It would have been great then. Let's see what will happen. Everything is very unclear now. God willing, it will be good.
Perhaps Erdogan wasn't as much. Anyway, this overwhelming support from the crisis-hit region was not enough to push Erdogan past the halfway line. The fact that Erdogan failed to clinch a victory at the first go tells the story of his declining popularity. Because the last time he went to the polls in 2018, Erdogan won with 52% votes. The trailing candidate got just 31% votes. But you see, that's history. And as I speak, the strongman has not been hesitant when it comes to accepting the possibility of a runoff.
If the decision of our nation shows that the elections have been completed, then there is no problem. Elections for the lawmakers of the Grand National Assembly of Turkey resulted in our People's Alliance winning the majority.
The question is, will the stronger than expected performance give Recep Erdogan an edge in the race? And experts are saying yes. And then you have the 5% game that we are talking about. This kingmaker may pick Erdogan, and his supporters seem to be already knowing about this. Some papers, in fact, are calling the result a victory for Erdogan. Let's shift focus for now. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky landed in the UK. He was there to meet the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and receive more gifts. What gifts? New weapons for the war, more military aid commitments. Sunak hosted Zelensky at Chequers, the official country home of the British Premier. The duo was seen hugging and waving. Zelensky said he wants, quote-unquote, a jet coalition. But Sunak did not commit to sending any planes. Before the talks, he had already pledged hundreds of air defense missiles and long-range attack drones in aid to Ukraine. As Zelensky was in the UK, this is what was happening in Ukraine, by the way. The top Chinese envoy, Li Hui, landed in Kiev. Who is he? The senior-most Chinese official to visit Ukraine since the war started. For a decade, until 2019, Li Hui was China's ambassador to Russia, and now he is China's special representative to the war. And we have been telling you this for a while now. Beijing remains eager to broker peace in the Russia-Ukraine war. And now it has tasked Li Hui to bring Kiev and Moscow to the negotiating table. And how will this unfold? More importantly, is China even in a position to be a mediator? Because the last time we checked, China and Russia are no-limits partners. President Xi Jinping has stayed tight-lipped regarding Russia's invasion of Ukraine. While the world has been imposing sanctions on Moscow, Xi has not condemned the Russian aggression. On the one hand, China has been trying to sell a neutral image, but on the other hand, it is talking up Russia's false narrative about the war, and there have been over 20 high-level interactions between China and Russia. Xi Jinping has had several phone calls with Vladimir Putin, even visited Moscow in March. But you see, he did not speak to Zelensky until late last month. And after a year into the war, not only has it invited criticism from the West, it has also challenged China's credibility as a potential peace broker. And how can China be an honest mediator if it already has a bias? And will it ever go against its strategic ally Russia? Ukraine knows it well, and yet it has welcomed the Chinese envoy. This comes after President Zelensky had a phone call with Xi Jinping late in August. He called the chat long and meaningful. And now Li Hui is in Ukraine. He will also be visiting Russia, Poland, France, Germany. In fact, President Zelensky himself has been making trips to European countries, and today he met the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, like I said. Yesterday he was in Paris, the day before in Germany, and just before that he was in Rome. And what exactly did he score out of these trips? Let's get to the key takeaways. France has promised to train and equip Ukrainian battalions with armored vehicles and light tanks. Germany, meanwhile, announced a military aid package worth $2.9 billion, almost doubling its commitment since the war started. But this might not be the only motive for Zelensky's trips, considering that he has welcomed Li Hui. Zelensky could be open to China's peace plan, and he may be trying to sell it to the West, because peace cannot be brokered without the West's blessings, be it direct or indirect. The EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen spoke about China's influence as far as Russia is concerned. Listen in to what she said.
It is very good that President Xi spoke to President Zelensky, because President Xi has without any doubt influence on President Putin. And as a member of the Security Council of the United Nations, China also has a specific responsibility to do, like everybody else, the utmost that Russia stops the aggression. This is of utmost importance.
For China, brokering peace is a low-cost venture that can yield high returns. It is an incentive to showcase its diplomatic strength, especially after its recent success in mediating between Iran and Saudi Arabia. And you see, China does not really care about who wins the war. It just wants to win the tag of a peacemaker. In truth, its closeness with Russia may actually help end the war. China is, after all, one of Russia's few remaining international partners. It has given vital diplomatic and economic support to Russia since the invasion. And Xi Jinping has more leverage over Putin than anyone else. He is in a position to bring Russia to the negotiating table and influence Putin as far as ending the conflict is concerned. But here's the thing. China has not recognized the aggressor in the war. It keeps on blaming the US and the NATO over any kind of meaningful help would require China to recognize Ukraine's perspective. But will that be possible is the immediate question. Will there be a peace deal at all? And will China be able to help end the Russia-Ukraine war? And if it does, how will the West react to it? For years now, Pakistan has tried to gain strategic depth against India by using its ties with Afghanistan. And if that were the case, looks like times are changing. What am I talking about? I'm talking about Afghanistan. The last few weeks have been nothing less than dramatic. And today, a letter surfaced saying that the Taliban has picked a new ambassador for its embassy in New Delhi. A letter emerged on the internet. What did the letter say? It said that Taliban's foreign ministry replaced its Afghan ambassador in New Delhi. Farid Mamundzai was appointed as the Afghan ambassador in New Delhi by the previous republic held by Hamid Karzai. Hamid Karzai fled the country when the Taliban took over. And now, according to this letter, Qadir Shah was to replace Mamundzai as Afghanistan's new ambassador in India under the Taliban-led Afghanistan. While New Delhi kept mum on this development, citing it as a domestic issue, a few hours later, another headline hit the internet. It said, Afghanistan embassy officially denounces Taliban's replacement for the ambassador to India, meaning there will be no change of leadership in the Afghan embassy in New Delhi. Farid Mamundzai will continue to be Afghanistan's ambassador. The previous letter has now been declared null and void. It has been called baseless. And Qadir Shah, who had declared to be the new ambassador, has been held responsible for spreading misinformation, running baseless campaigns, and fabricating information on an unsigned letter. And what else does this letter say? It appreciates the position of the Indian government. It values New Delhi's support in the interest of the Afghan people. Not just that, it also acknowledges India's helping aid in uplifting the humanitarian situation in Afghanistan. And there is a special mention of New Delhi's supply of COVID-19 vaccines, medicines, food items. While status quo has been maintained on the appointment of the ambassador, we do know what developments might shape in the coming hours. But the one thing is that we know is regarding India and its engagement with Afghanistan and what it has been like in the last 2 years since the Taliban took over. India's engagement with Afghanistan has been more of humanitarian than political. India has not recognized the Taliban regime in Kabul, but it also has never missed a chance to help the people of Afghanistan during crises. From sending 27 tons of emergency relief assistance during an earthquake that killed thousands of people, to sending COVID-19 vaccines, from delivering 20,000 metric tons of wheat to Afghan people, to supplying batches of medical supplies, India has never missed an opportunity to provide relief to Afghanistan. In the past, India has been Afghanistan's biggest regional donor. It has built over 200 schools in Afghanistan, sponsored thousands of scholarships, and hosted Afghan students. And even now, India continues to stand in solidarity with the people of Afghanistan and respect its neighbor with whom it shares old ties. The Taliban-led Afghanistan has time and again appreciated India's efforts, the words of appreciation in this letter being one of them. As New Delhi and Kabul continue with the engagements, Pakistan might have a problem with these strengthening ties, and it will be watching these developments very closely because for years, like I said, Pakistan has been trying to use Afghanistan as a pawn to serve its own political purpose, the purpose of enabling its security tensions with India. But with the deepening ties between New Delhi and Kabul, the plan is perhaps failing, and with that, so is its quest for strategic depths. Our next story is about Boris Johnson. Remember when the former Prime Minister of the UK was unhappy about his salary? A salary of over $200,000? This was when he held the top position. And now Johnson has recently purchased an over $4.7 million mansion. You heard that right. A mansion worth over $4 million. How did he manage to buy this expensive house? Why is it at the center of a controversy? What does the opposition have to say about this? Our next report getting you the complete story.
Boris Johnson is in the news, and once again for a wrong reason. the former Prime Minister recently purchased a $4.7 million mansion. Why is this mansion so expensive? And why has the former leader bought it? Also, how was it possible for him to buy this lavish mansion? Especially after he complained earlier about his salary of nearly $200,000. When he was the Prime Minister, reports say he felt the salary was not enough. And he had to be tight with his money. Well, let's first look at how lavish the mansion really is. In one word, very. The manor, which sits in the Oxfordshire countryside, dates back to the 1600s. The Brightwell Manor is surrounded on three sides by a 900-year-old moat. And it only gets better. Let's get into the specifics. The Brightwell Manor covers 8,128 square feet. It has 9 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms. The land also features a guest cottage, a garage, a tennis court, and a couple of stables. The country house was on sale for 4 years, and the timing is interesting. Johnson made the purchase only a few weeks before BBC chairman Richard Sharp resigned. How could the two incidents be connected? Remember, Sharp was accused of helping Johnson secure an over $1 million loan. And the questions don't end here. In February, Johnson pocketed over $3 million from the Harry Walker speaking agency. He also gathered over $630,000 in advance for his memoirs. Within 5 months of Johnson leaving Number 10, reports show that his earnings reached nearly $6.2 million. During this time, the former Number 10 lived rent-free. We are talking about homes with a rental value of over $16,000. He also lived freely in London's Knightsbridge townhouse. This is an over $25 million townhouse. All of the properties were owned by a Tory donor, Lady Bamford. At this point, what does the opposition have to say about all this? Opponents have once again brought the Downing Street probes into focus. Especially the money that went to Johnson's legal team. Over $300,000 were spent on his legal team, money that essentially went from the taxpayer's pocket. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has also been roped in. The public and opposition are criticizing Sunak and saying that he gave Johnson a free rein to sponge off taxpayers. Sunak is also facing a lot of flack. He has been accused of wrongful use of the taxpayers' money. Sunak has also been held responsible for not releasing the financial interests of his wife, Akshata Murthy. Her non-domiciled status, while retaining her Indian citizenship, has also attracted flack. And now Boris Johnson finds himself at the center of a heated controversy over spending millions on a lavish mansion. Both the former PM and the current one have a lot of explaining to do. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Five months ago, Elon Musk conducted a poll on Twitter. He asked the people if he should step down as the CEO of Twitter. And 5 months later, he has honored the poll which favored his exit as Twitter's CEO. Now, if you think that Musk's takeover of Twitter received hatred, wait till you hear about the next CEO. Linda Yaccarino is the new CEO of Twitter. She has served as the chairman of global advertising at NBC Universal for 11 years. An expert in brand safety, Linda specializes in commercial partnerships. In other words, Linda is an ad guru. Sounds like the right call, does it not? Especially because since Musk's chaotic takeover of the platform, Twitter has frozen ad buys. And this put the brand in a tight spot. And to deter this situation, Musk decided to look for an alternative. He conducted an informal poll in December 2022, which was roughly 5 months ago. Elon Musk asked Twitter to vote yes or no. What was the question? He asked whether he should step down as the head of Twitter. And to this, more than 57% of the respondents said that he should. Which means nearly 10 million people said that he should step down. Now that Musk has honored that poll and roped in a new CEO, is Twitter happy? What are the reactions on the platform? The answer, perhaps, is a no. You see, despite her strong credentials, Twitter users or Twitterati are strongly opposing her appointment. In fact, it won't be wrong to say that the otherwise divided Twitteratis have united in their hate against Linda Yaccarino. Neither the right nor the left or the center even are happy with her appointment. And the reasons are various and many. Let's just break them down for you. The leftists and liberals noted that in 2018, Donald Trump appointed Yaccarino to the President's Council on Sports, Fitness and Nutrition. And this became a problem for them. They went on to hate the new CEO by accusing her of following right-wing extremists. And they did not stop at that. They dug out her list of followers. They criticized her for following anti-LGBTQ accounts. And Jack was a big. On the other hand, the right-leaning ideologists are not happy either. They are mad at Linda. They disapprove of her because she, they say, collaborated with the Biden administration on a COVID-19 vaccination campaign. And why did that happen? Simply because she was the chairperson of the Ad Council. Linda's resume was scrutinized. It was put under a harsh scanner. Her current portfolio of being the executive chairperson of the World Economic Forum was not spared either. She was accused of being a lobbyist for corporate interests and was blamed for sitting at the center of many conspiracy theories. And with this appointment, Musk was not spared either. Twitter went ablaze by citing one of Musk's tweets that criticized the World Economic Forum. In fact, people have started believing that this is the end of Twitter. And with that, RIP Twitter, or Twitter was good while it lasted, started trending on the platform. And this decision is further being lamented as the demise of Twitter, death of Twitter 2.0, as Twitteratis are calling it. For a change, with this appointment, the two sides are united in hatred for the new CEO. And the company believes that is in the best interest for as far as his future is concerned. Elon Musk has welcomed Linda Yaccarino and is confident about her contribution as far as business operations are concerned. Linda will start her new stint as Twitter's CEO in 6 weeks. And as for the hatred, does it change? And what exactly will this appointment really hold? Just like hate over Musk's takeover as Twitter's CEO did not really change anything, the hate mongers will perhaps have to deal with this. Our next story is on Thailand's next Prime Minister. The leader of the Move Forward party is now set to become the new Prime Minister of the country. He's known as the rising star of the parliament. Pita has become popular for his promise to change the military's political influence. His party is also pushing for the Le Majeste reforms, a law that forbids the insult of the monarchy. What is his story? And what changes will he bring along? Our next report telling you.
Today is a new day, and hopefully it is full of bright sunshine and hope. This is what Pita Limjaroenrat said after he won, and was set to become Thailand's next Prime Minister. Pita's party, Move Forward, swept to a stunning victory, because of voters who wanted freedom from nearly a decade of army-backed rule. This is a major victory for Move Forward and its leader, especially in a country which has seen at least a dozen successful coups. Although Move Forward overtook all the military-backed parties in the elections, the party will now create a coalition government with runner-up Pheu Thai. This is because PITA's party failed to get a single-party majority.
I am ready to be the Prime Minister for all, whether you agree with me or you disagree with me. The sentiment of the era has changed, and it's right. It was the right timing that people have been through enough of lost decade in the past decade, and today is a new day, and hopefully it's full of bright sunshine of hope going forward.
So, who is this man set to become the next Prime Minister? 42-year-old Pita Limjaroenrat comes from an influential family. His father and uncle were advisors to the Thai government. Pita started his political career as a member of the Future Forward Party. Founded by a staunch critic of the army, the party shook up Thai politics with its demand for change. After Future Forward was disbanded due to certain allegations, the Move Forward Party was formed and Pita stood as the leader. At the same time, thousands of youngsters took to the streets. They demanded amendments to the constitution, a new election, and an end to the harassment of rights activists. Pita and his party listened to the citizens and acted upon it. The desire for change drove Move Forward's appeal in the elections. So, what changes does the Move Forward Party aim to bring? The main aim is the Less Majest reforms. The Less Majest law is mentioned in Article 112 of Thailand's Criminal Code. It says that anyone who defames or insults the king, the queen, or the regent will be punished with a jail term of 3 to 15 years. What is alarming is that the law has remained virtually unchanged since the creation of Thailand's first criminal code in 1908. Pita has decided to change this law, which is one of the strictest rules in the world.
We really need to revise those that had been impacted by politically motivated cases, including 112, and that includes a lot of juvenile, the youngest in Thailand being the age of 15. So that's probably a couple initiatives that needed to be done in this country, with whether it's the amendment of law inside the parliament as well as revision of politically motivated case.
Move Forward is also aiming for the country's dominant military. It has promised to reduce the power of the military. Let us remind you, Thailand's military still has the power to play kingmaker. But Pita is backed with thousands who have been protesting for change, and the young leader is certain that he will rewrite the constitution. Pita's party is also looking to strengthen ties with other nations, that is, through boosting its tourism industry, a sector where India stands as the largest customer. Over 2 million Indians traveled to Thailand in 2019, so the new government will aim to make Thailand a regional transport hub. It plans to boost airport capacity to handle 120 million tourists by 2027. Will the new coalition government introduce more changes? Will Thailand finally be free of an army-backed rule? Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Are you someone who wears contact lenses? Or do you find them cumbersome and would root for team spectacles any day? Well, yes, contact lenses are difficult to deal with, but people prefer them for a variety of reasons. Maybe they find contact lenses more comfortable than spectacles. Maybe they don't like how spectacles look on them, or they don't find them comfortable. Or maybe even for the reason that masks and spectacles are not exactly a match made in heaven. Now let me ask you this. What if contact lenses are harming you to the extent that what if they could lead to cancer? As per a new study, many soft contact lenses from the US are largely made up of cancer-causing chemicals. 18 kinds of contact lenses were tested, and the researchers found extremely high levels of organic fluorine, which is a marker of PFAs, basically a class of 14,000 chemicals. They are called forever chemicals They don't naturally break down, hence the name forever. And not just cancer, they are also linked to liver disease, fetal complications, kidney disease. In fact, according to the report, the research focused on brands AccuView, Alcon, and Cooper Vision. And the three lenses with the highest amount of organic fluorine were Alcon Air Optics No Hydroglide for astigmatism, Alcon Air Optics Colors with Smart Shield technology, and Alcon Total 30 contact lenses for daily wear. Now, let me just say, there is no clarity on what exactly the impact would be when it comes to exposure to these chemicals through contact lenses. There is no study as such regarding how the eyes take in these chemicals from lenses. No study on this has been conducted. So there is no immediate reason to be worried or dump that pair of contact lenses. But let me ask you this. Would you want to buy a used pair of contact lenses? I know that sounds like a bizarre question. I mean, why would anyone do that, right? It would just be purely unhygienic to be wearing someone's used pair of lenses. Would you take them if someone gave them to you for free? Perhaps not. And what if you had to pay $10,000 to get your hands on contact lenses that have been used by someone? Why would anyone do that, and what makes the contact lenses so special? The answer simply is Taylor Swift. I'm not talking about contact lenses worn by the iconic singer. They would probably be worth millions, even more, given how popular the star is and how strong her fan following is. I am talking about contact lenses that have attended her concert. Basically, Taylor Swift's Eras tour has had back-to-back sold-out shows, such as the craze that now a pair of dried-up contact lenses that have quote-unquote seen Taylor Swift's Eras tour are up for sale on a resale website. They are priced at $10,000, 8,22,000 rupees. So to sum it up, contact lenses have been in the news today for both scary and bizarre reasons. But you don't have to dump them yet. It is Monday. Monday blues are here. And when you woke up this morning, maybe you felt like taking a break from the rat race. Maybe take some time off for yourself. Even the thought of leaving your job may have crossed your mind. Well, at some point in your life, you must have felt this particular urge to hang up your boots. But have you ever thought about what triggered that thought? Why would you want to quit your job? One of the reasons for that may be directly linked to your colleague who has just left the organization for good. You see, whenever an exceptional employee moves on from their job, there is a team left behind that feels the void. And when a great teammate leaves, many suspect more will follow them. Exits by top performers do set off more resignations from the company. But surprisingly so, the level of impact depends on how they exit. And just to understand how the exits influence those who stay back, researchers from the University of British Columbia and the University of Minnesota analyzed data of about 1 million employees. And they found that layoff announcements had a strong and immediate impact. It increased voluntary resignations among those who remained at the company. But why does that happen? According to the study, when a person is asked to leave the organization, this creates a ripple effect. It enhances the feeling of job insecurity among those who remain. You see, whenever there are layoffs, those who survive it tend to overthink. If one of the exceptional performers can be asked to leave, then there is a high probability of them being sacked as well. And what happens next? They start looking for other opportunities. There is a high tendency of them keeping a plan B ready, just in case they are next in line. And eventually, more employees end up quitting the organization. And from Monday blues, let's talk about Monday motivation. If you are a class 10 student or a parent of one and you are watching this show from India, then this story is for you particularly. The class 10 board results are out. Months of nail biting finally coming to an end. Many students saw their hard work and endless hours of slogging away yield good results. That is brilliant, and we wish them the best. But for those who are not all that happy, who perhaps did not score that well, those who somehow lagged behind, for them, those who feel that the blood and sweat did not really pay off, we just want to say it does not matter. It's that time of the year when long-lost relatives and otherwise aloof neighbors suddenly are interested in what's happening in your life. They might not have even wished you on your birthday or any other festival, but they will call you up to ask you about your child's percentage or call you up just to, check and compare how much they scored. Netizens know how to lighten up the moment, of course. Board results are out and so are the memes. Have a look at what's been doing the rounds on the internet today. Over 2,166,000 students appeared for the examinations, and out of them, around 2,016,800 passed, meaning over 93% of the students cleared the exams. But if you happen to be among the other 7%, it's all right. It doesn't matter, at least not as much as you think. Children and parents alike are fed this idea of excelling in board exams, that's important, that students' entire careers depend on their mark sheets. But it's time you re-evaluate this very notion. It's true that children get admissions based on their merit. All A's can get you a promising university admission. Average marks will land you in a mediocre institute perhaps. But what after that? Let's just make one thing clear. Marks are not a measure of a child's intelligence. It does not and cannot quantify the caliber and talent of an individual. Maybe a student did not do that well in science, but why would it matter if they are an amazing athlete or a gifted artist? Why would their maths grades matter if they have a good oration and communication skills? You see, each child has different strengths and weaknesses. But our education system at times does not practically take that into account. And students are evaluated mostly for their memorization, how much they can cram up, how many facts and formulae they can retain. Is that really enough to judge a child's caliber and aptitude? It's not, and sadly most people fail to see that. But on a positive note, the Central Board of Secondary Education, or CBSE, took a step in the right direction, and it's a very crucial one. This year, it did not release a merit list, to avoid unhealthy competition among the students. After all, it's just a round of examinations, and down the lane, nobody would really care about how much your child scored in high school. What will matter at the end of the day is their skill, their attitude, and their personality. Let's now tell you what else made news around the world. Time for Gravitas Global Headlines.
Kenyan President William Ruto takes responsibility for the cult deaths, says the government should have been able to prevent the disaster from happening. Over 200 people died of starvation in the country's coastal region. Cambodia's main opposition party barred from elections to be held on the 23rd of July. The country's election body keeps the main challenger to Prime Minister Hun Sen out over failure to submit certain documents. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa reiterates his country's non-aligned position on the Ukraine war does not favor Russia, calls for a peaceful resolution. This after the US last week alleged South Africa was transferring arms to Russia. Days after mass shootings, Serbians surrender 13,500 weapons, including hand grenades and anti-tank rocket launchers. The authorities have declared 1-month amnesty period for citizens to hand over unregistered weapons. A fiery highway crash involving a passenger van and a freight truck killed 26 people in northern Mexico. The cab that had been pulling the freight trailer was not found at the scene, suggesting the driver might have uncoupled it and fled. The accident occurred on a highway near the state capital, Ciudad Victoria. South Australia State Police continued to search for remains of a 46-year-old surfer who was attacked by a shark off the South Australian coast 2 days earlier. School teacher Simon Bacanello was attacked Saturday while surfing with others near his home at Elliston in South Australia. While his body is yet to be found, his damaged surfboard was found soon after the incident. Train traffic across Germany was partially disrupted after the Railway and Transport Union cancelled a 50-hour walkout last evening as a result of a court settlement it has reached with the railway operator. There are still trains delayed or called off as the rail operator Deutsche Bahn had to reschedule the services. Powerful cyclone Mocha battered Myanmar's coast, inflicting damage and cutting off communications. At least 6 deaths have been reported, while rescuers evacuated about 1,000 people trapped by seawater along western Myanmar's coast. According to reports, strong winds injured more than 700 people out of 20,000 who were sheltering in buildings on the highlands of Sitwa Township. Barcelona have been crowned La Liga champions for the first time in 4 years. The Catalans beat city rivals Espanyol 4-2 to win their first league title since Lionel Messi's departure. However, there were ugly scenes after the match as some Espanyol fans stormed onto the pitch. Second seed Carlos Alcaraz has crashed out of the Rome Masters with a straight sets defeat to world number 135, Fabian Marochan. It is the reigning US Open champions' first defeat of the clay season, having won titles in Barcelona and Madrid.
On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas. We're leaving you with Gravitas images. Thanks very much for watching.
There we go.
Sort of lead him with it.